The next opioid epidemic? One lawmaker wants legislation to protect people from AI chatbots after a string of suicides and murders. Plus, Chicago on notice. A rash of Labor Day shootings pushed the president to renew his threat to put boots on the ground in the Windy City. And Rudy wrecked. A freak car accident in New Hampshire seriously injures Rudy Giuliani. Those stories and more today, Labor Day, Monday, September 1st. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast. It's been a bloody weekend in Chicago, and President Trump is itching to step in with the feds. The city is grappling with a flare-up of shootings over this holiday weekend. The number shot is at least 35 people at the time that I'm recording this, including 4 fatalities. The president has already threatened to send in federal law enforcement to help bring Chicago's crime situation under control, and these latest numbers caught his attention. President Trump made it clear that his patience with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is running thin. Here's what he said on Truth Social Saturday, quote, "He is crazy in all caps with a bunch of exclamation marks." And then he warned, quote, "He better straighten it out fast or we're coming." The we in that sentence is, of course, the National Guard. Now to a freak accident in New Hampshire that left a former Trump advisor and New York City mayor hospitalized with serious injuries. Rudy Giuliani was rear-ended in a rental car Saturday night, leaving the 81-year-old with a fractured vertebrae, multiple cuts and bruises, and injuries to his left arm and lower leg. By all measures, it sounded like a bad accident, but stay with me here because this is a bizarre crash, to say the least. According to a spokesman, Giuliani had just gotten back in the car moments before the crash because he'd been flagged down by a woman on the road who needed help. Giuliani had reportedly pulled over to assist a victim of domestic violence. He called 911 and waited for officers to make sure that the woman was safe. It was then that he got back in the car and was slammed from behind at high speed. Apparently, the former mayor is still in good spirits, but he will have to wear a back brace once he's released from the hospital in a few days. The spokesperson also said of Giuliani, quote, "He's a beast. He survived 9/11. And now, the prelude to a full-scale invasion. Israeli forces began a heavy bombardment of Gaza Sunday night, reportedly killing Hamas's spokesman as the IDF circles plans to seize that entire city. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that the city is one of the last remaining Hamas strongholds inside of Gaza. Abu Obaida, the Hamas official said to be killed in the airstrikes, helped plot the October 7th massacre that killed more than 1,200 people. Israeli officials warned that all Hamas officials remain targets, including those that live abroad in places like Yemen, Lebanon, and Syria. The full-scale invasion isn't set to begin for a few weeks, but tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians are fleeing their homes in anticipation of this Israeli operation. Now, Israel's government views that an incursion would be the best way to bring home the remaining Israeli hostages. And over the weekend, Israel identified a second hostage's body discovered in Gaza last week. 28-year-old Idan Shativi. Hamas held his body for 693 days. Now to our big story. Is AI dangerous? Well, it's certainly starting to seem that way, or at the very least, like there are some serious questions that need answering, not including the alarming number of teen suicides that have been allegedly fueled by AI chatbots, as I told you about last week. There are now more tragic stories surfacing. Stein Eric Solberg, a former manager at Yahoo, killed his mother and then himself after ChatGPT allegedly fed into his mental illness, fueling paranoid beliefs that his 83-year-old mother was plotting against him. Solberg nicknamed the AI Bobby, and Bobby, according to the Wall Street Journal, repeatedly told the man he was sane and that his conspiracies about his mom were sound. And yet another scary incident is from a failed stress test. OpenAI teamed up with a rival to probe ChatGPT for weaknesses. And boy, did they find some. Researchers posing as security planners asked ChatGPT to give them a list of vulnerabilities at sports stadiums. And it did, basically providing a terrorist playbook, optimal times for an attack, chemical formulas for explosives, bomb-making diagrams, and where to buy untraceable guns. Now, the growing concerns with AI are now having some lawmakers scrambling to regulate it, including one that calls it, quote, the next opioid epidemic. Here to talk more about this, New York Post Deputy Managing Editor Michael Zenny. So, Michael, there's a new proposal in New York targeting AI. So who's behind it and what exactly is it supposed to do?
Yeah, so here in New York, we've got City Councilman Frank Moreno. He's a Republican from the borough of Staten Island. And so he's introduced a bill that would require all AI chatbots to have guardrails, reminding users that it's not a person that the user is interacting with, that the bots could be wrong, and then would also require prompts to take breaks during long sessions and provide mental health resources. And these are some of the things that we've seen from some of the really disturbing cases that could potentially help some of the troubled users.
And is it those disturbing cases that are the reason behind the law at this moment? I mean, why is Moreno pushing for it now?
Yeah, so this one hits close to home for him. He told us about one of his longtime friends. He says he's known him for 20 years, and he says he's gone off the deep end with AI. Apparently, this guy declared that he's worked so deeply with one of the chatbots that he's been reborn as a new person, right? And so whether this is literal or figurative is perhaps up for debate because we talked to him as well, and he said, "I've never felt better in my life." And the thing is, like, this is either quite reassuring or it's also exactly what someone who's in way too deep might say.
Yeah, it's troubling to see both sides of the same coin there and not really know who to believe. Do you trust the person who's, narrating their own story, or do you trust those around them that are saying, okay, this doesn't sit right with me? So, from the other side, have any of the big players here responded? AI companies, Apple, things like that?
Yeah, so we have absolutely seen major AI CEOs, including OpenAI's head Sam Altman, sort of making the right noises about safety, saying they need to improve it, right? And there have been some guardrails put up with respect to direct prompts about things like suicide and making bombs, but we've also seen that there are workarounds for clever users. And the other thing is, like, as we say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And some of us, including me, are old enough to remember Facebook and Facebook saying that it was policing itself while, reporting came out acknowledging that internal reports knew that it was harming teens, especially girls. And so we've got sort of a similar dynamic starting to play out here, right? 70% of teens have said that they've used AI as a companion, and half of them say that they use it regularly as like a friend. So this is something that we're going to continue to talk about regulating. And, this will only be the latest of, I'm sure, a lot of regulation to come.
Well, it comes down to just how intelligent the AI is. I mean, when we're talking about chatbots, there's a difference between don't know this, but I know this, you or me screaming representative into a phone, but we don't want to talk to whatever chatbot that is, to something like ChatGPT, who of course seems like a friend because it mimics your speech patterns. So it gives you what you're giving it. And the mirroring is exactly what you'd want from a friend. So you can see how it could be really troubling and confusing for a certain section of people to get involved in. Now, this particular law that we're talking about here, as you said, Borough of Staten Island, that's a very local initiative. But do you feel like this could be something we see kind of ripple out on a national scope?
So there's already been some regulation proposed. In California, there was a very controversial law that actually the Governor Gavin Newsom ended up vetoing after pressure from some of these tech folks, including Elon Musk, saying that it was too prohibitive. But there have been a lot of laws that have been introduced in state legislatures. Meanwhile, at the federal level, there have been some executive orders and things like that. But President Trump and the White House have made it clear that his primary mission right now is winning the AI race, where by all accounts, the US seems to be neck and neck with China.
So to have that on one side of the equation and then lawmakers on the other side saying we need guardrails in here, it's going to be odd to see how they will sort of dovetail together and where that's going to leave us, because the technology, like I said, it's really, really smart. I couldn't get a replacement title for my car, but AI figured it out for me, and it was there in 8 weeks. So you can see how there are benefits, but then we list these other stories and there's so many tragedies on the other side of it. It definitely is a whole new ballgame there. Our Michael Zenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now to presidential proof of life ×2. President Trump is alive and well. President Biden also alive this fine Monday morning. Why am I telling you something you probably already knew? Because if you were in certain corners of the internet this weekend, you might have seen news that one or both of them had kicked the bucket. I jest because they are, in fact, fine. Donald Trump is possibly the most public president ever, but he kind of disappeared from public view for a few days last week, and his absence led a faction of the internet to speculate about the 79-year-old's health, as in, they jumped to the conclusion that he was dead. The POTUS perishing rumor took hold online Friday night with the hashtags Trump is dead and where is Trump trending on X until Saturday morning. That's when the president emerged and was photographed decked out in one of his golf ensembles with his granddaughter Kai, leaving the White House headed for the links at Sterling, Virginia. This effectively clearing up the rumors about his, being alive. Now, it only took 4 days out of the spotlight for whispers about Trump's welfare to start. Joe Biden, he hadn't been seen in public since July 31st. Again, here we go with the speculation. That is until Saturday when his daughter Ashley posted a video to Instagram of the pair walking and smiling and, being alive. And finally, at the US Open on Thursday, cameras caught a grown adult man bulldozing a little kid to get an autographed hat signed by Camille Myshak that the tennis star was clearly handing to the child. Now, the kid, Brock, looked positively crestfallen. His little face will break your heart. Now, the identity of the hat burglar was a mystery at first, but internet sleuths found him. He's apparently a Polish millionaire who runs a paving company, and the World Wide Web is now on a campaign to tank his business. All trace of the CEO is gone from social media and is being called some colorful names online: a sack of garbage, a common thief, a primitive scammer, and a shameful jerk. There's even a whiff of a boycott campaign. Well, to the victor go the spoils, and young Brock is the one coming out on top here. Camille Myshak arranged for Brock and his family to have an in-person meet and greet, and he finally got that hat, plus a lot of other really cool swag too. So really, he's coming out on top. Definitely go to the New York Post to look at the video of this hat snatch. It is so blatant, and then the guy stuffs the hat in his wife's bag while this kid just looks there so sad. It's really the worst karma ever, and we're seeing that play out in real time. Question though, is the internet takedown too much? Let me know what you think in the comments after you see the video, and then while you're there, go and like and follow the New York Postcast wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Have a great Labor Day, guys. I will see you tomorrow.